This is the 8th video of my series Casting Shadows, and this one's about boxes in the air and against the wall. This is a frontal view of a box on the ground and a box above the ground. And in the first case, I established three vertical poles and drew light rays through their tops and shadow lines through their bottoms to get points on the shadow. When the box is above the ground, light goes through all corners, but these are the corners we need, the ones here and here, which create these beveled edges that we don't see in this first image. Here are floating boxes with vertical sides. I chose this light direction and a horizontal shadow direction, and all the sides of the boxes have seats. Then it's just a matter of keeping your line straight. So if we take this back point here, it goes down to here, and we can see that the seat goes in the middle here, and we get this point right here. For a tilted box on the ground, we need to find seats through which shadow lines pass, and then just do the light triangles to find this shadow. In the second one, the light rays are parallel, so the shadow lines are also parallel. Here's a shadow that's both on the floor and on the wall, and I think you can see this construction. We want, for example, this point, follow the light ray to here, and the shadow line comes from down here, across and up, and we get this point right here, corresponding to the beginning of the seat. Now, if you move this chair this way, so it would be, let's say, here, the shadow on the ground would get longer, but the shadow on the wall would get shorter. This is a box next to a wall, and it's being front lit, so the pseudo-sun is down here. And in the first green pole, we can see number 1 goes to its base, and then this is the shadow direction that we've chosen, and then it goes up to intersect the light. Similarly, number 2 in front goes all the way down. It goes in the same shadow direction up the wall until it intersects the light. And what you see is that all 4 of these top poles form diagonal shadows. You can see going from 1 to 2 is diagonal, 2 to 3 is diagonal, 3 to 4 is diagonal, and 4 to 1 is diagonal. And that's because these poles are not parallel to the vertical wall. And you get a typical arrow shape. This is an empty box against the wall, and let's just do the outside shadow. So we have this first pole that gives us intersection 1, and we have a second pole that gives us intersection 2. And we know the line has to go parallel to this horizontal pole, and it hits the wall at 3. But we don't know where to go from there, so we have to go around the other way. And I'm going to use this second diagram to show you. So we have this back pole here that gives us intersection 5. And this must be parallel to this casting surface up here, so it hits the wall at 6. Now, we then use this back vertical pole here. The shadow line goes underneath it, it hits the wall, and then goes vertically up until it intersects the light at 4. So we have a line from 6 to 4 like this, which is cast by this horizontal pole. And then we connect 4 to number 3, and that's cast by this horizontal pole. This is a box on top of another box, and there's a vertical barrier in front, and we know it's vertical because the shadows are vertical on vertical surfaces, and that only happens with vertical poles. So let's try to find these shadows. First, find the structure of this lower box, and then this shadow starts here. It goes vertically up, following this vertical pole. Then it continues in the shadow direction, vertically down, and here. So we have that part of the shadow. Now, in addition, this part goes to the shadow vanishing point. It's vertical down, and it goes here. And so we have all of these shadows. Now, if we put a light ray from there to there, and here, then we know that this horizontal pole is casting this shadow. And then this last part of the shadow is parallel to the back of this box. Now, the final bit of the box is to find the structure of the little box, and then you can see the shadow hits its edge, it goes vertically up like that, and then it continues in the same direction. For these box flaps, we can see that this shadow is from this flap, this shadow is from this flap, and this shadow is from this flap over here. So we need to set up seats. Not quite sure how low to make them, so go with the shadow direction. Go from a corner to the corner of the shadow here. That's one shadow direction going to the shadow vanishing point, and then another one is this corner going to this corner of the shadow, and that goes to the shadow vanishing point. So we set up the seats so that in order to find this point, we have parallel shadow direction, making this the bottom of the seat. And then it's just a matter of keeping your line straight. So for this one, we go down, we have a light ray going this way, and we get number 4. If we want number 2, for example, this point on the flap, we follow its seat down, shadow direction, and where it intersects the light is the corner. My next video is about shadows of open boxes. I bet you can't wait.